That competition is just us with ourselves getting better each and every day. If you can push yourself to be 1 degree better every day, and sometimes that doesn't happen every day, we are in the context, we stay present, we are in fluid motion. We can't always be growing. But if we can strive to be 1 degree better every day, that's aligned with our values, that is aligned with their values, they can be unstoppable. They will become unflinching in the face of social media, of comments on social media, when they go to college and they are in situations where they have to make decisions, and hard decisions, especially when there are peers around them. See the competition as yourself. I want to be the best version of myself today and every day. And so that's the one big piece of advice that I can give to parents.
Welcome to Changing the Channel with Joe Garner, a show about shifting our individual and collective beliefs on what is possible for the future of humanity. As our understanding of how our reality continues to shift, we are at a point of reunification between science and spirituality. What does the world look like when we break free from the generational trauma that has kept most humans playing small for thousands of years and step into our full power as the co-creators of this reality? I always ask that you keep an open mind with this podcast. Ask yourself what resonates with my truth at this time and what does not. Respect your intuition, but see if you can get through the whole show, because there might be that little nugget buried deep in the conversation that unlocks something for you. Welcome back to Changing the Channel. I have another wonderful guest today. Her name is Barbara Halina, and she is a speaker and athlete excellence coach. She empowers elite high school athletes to unlock their excellence so they can increase their visibility and create earning potential with impact on social media. So welcome to the show, Barbara. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So for those who are unfamiliar with the current landscape of college sports, it sounds like you're helping them with the newest rules in the collegiate sports where athletes can make money. How has that changed over the past couple of years, and what do you do to kind of help these athletes get into that system?
Yeah. So really over the past 10 years, I was in college 10 years ago. And when I was in college, we were a representative of the university, and that was it. And now we have these opportunities, or athletes have these opportunities to take their name, image, and likeness and monetize it. And that's powerful. That creates generational equity right out of high school. And you no longer have to become a pro athlete. You can leverage that right then and there. But it's about the build up as well, because the only 4 years that you're allowed to use that within the context of the university that you're playing for is while you are an athlete. So the build up is really important. How you create that and start your social media presence is how you can then engage with people and advertisers and companies and partner with them when you're actually on campus, not the university. Yeah.
As I reflect on the past 8 months of recording this podcast, it brings so much joy to have experienced such amazing conversations, to hear the feedback from others and the impact that some of those conversations have had on others. With that being said, I've decided to take the next 3 to 4 months off to really focus on what is present in my life. I'll still be posting some of my favorite episodes, and I'll be sharing little tidbits of information along the way as I feel called. But the regular posting of episodes is going to start to slow down. I am very grateful for everyone and their continued listenership and following my journey. And I just want to say thank you to everyone out there. I will be recording at some point coming up in the fall or winter and putting out more episodes then. But until then, please feel free to reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. Let's get together. I truly enjoy what this sparks in others. Do you find that this has been a positive, negative, neutral aspect of the college athlete experience?
I think it can be both. I think there is absolutely positive outcomes to it. As I mentioned, creating offsetting some of that cost of college is tremendous and can be tremendous for so many families. However, if you don't know how to use the tools and the tools use you, then it's no longer serving you.
Hmm.
And so, really understanding social media, how to show up, when to show up, and to be your authentic self is the most critical element of leveraging that site to your and platform to your benefit.
Beautiful. Now, I assume you also work on their mindset as athletes as well. So maybe go into a little bit about that. What is that mindset as far as an athlete goes?
Yeah. So athletes go through so many thoughts in such a short period of time. You can be at the highest of highs and then you can be at the lowest of lows within a few points on a volleyball court or on a basketball court. And then how to manage that is difficult. But if you are able to access that and be able to practice that and train within that while you're in your toughest moments, that seems like nothing. That will be able to, you'll be able to believe in yourself, know what you are capable of, and not worry about the infiltrating thoughts and the exterior that's going on around you, the external that's going on around you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's
The inwards for me.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's important to that it's not just sports where that is the case. I mean, that this whole
Mhm.
show is about mindset and making sure that the internal reality is creating the external reality and not the other way around.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think that's very important for people to realize that it's not just sports where this mindset can be put in, but in your everyday life. I mean, we all go through these difficult periods in our life, growth periods, you know, shrink periods, periods of just absolute
Stagnation.
bliss, yeah,
Yeah.
or periods of absolute growth. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
whole gambit. That's why you come here to be a human, to live in this
Mhm.
duality, to experience these, back and forth in your reality. And again, you're always guided, you're always being guided, but you have to tune into that internal guidance. You have to listen to that guidance system. Otherwise, like you said, you're just, you're
Listening.
letting the tools use you instead of you using the tools for the most
Absolutely.
productive. So
Yeah.
now you have an interesting perspective. Uh, you've always kind of been involved or at least interested in politics, and you think that right now there's a huge intersectionality between the sports world and the political world. So maybe go into that a little bit. I'm very interested to kind of hear this perspective.
Yeah. Sports is the coming together of two individuals or two opponents dueling. And right now, we are in a political atmosphere in the United States where there's such firm alignment, either one way or the other, that we are now presented with this duel. And when we can't coexist in the two spheres together, we become enraptured and again in that external. We we get lost. And that that battle then turns inward and we turn on ourselves. If we can find that consciousness, if we can find that regulated heart, whether it be beating and physically and
Metaphysically,
thank you. Yeah. The two have to come together. We want to control our hearts and our heart rate is critically important to do that. Being able to control that range. Yeah. And so, yes, bringing it back to politics and bringing it back to sports, we have to work together. You can't have a win without the other present. And working together is a critical aspect of that. Being able to have an understanding of the other person's humanity, of the other side's humanity, and why they think this way, so that then you can also share your input and do it with confidence and belief.
Yeah, that seems like a very important point is that we need to start seeing the other side's humanity. Again, there's just so much division and so much othering in the political system where you can't even it's almost dehumanizing the other side, and that's what humans have been really good at as far as wartime goes. It's dehumanizing that other person, that other side, that opponent that you have. And in sports, you know, every once in a while there's a little bit of that dehumanization. I think the NFL, for one example, especially in the late mid 80s, 90s, and even into the early 2000s. I mean, there was a an absolute dehumanization of the other team. People were going out to hurt the other players, and that was just how they played the sport. But people pretty quickly realized that A, that's unsustainable, and
Mhm.
B, it's not what is good for the sport. Yeah, you have a couple people on the periphery that are like, "Yeah, let's go out and kill them." But for the most part, people wanna watch a good game. They don't wanna see injuries. They don't wanna see their best players getting, concussions on a regular basis. They wanna see the sport. They understand that it is a game and that they want to, enjoy it, that game, and I think the
Mhm.
political system is pretty much the same. There are certainly much bigger implications for the decisions that the policymakers are making, versus like a sports team or watching your favorite sports team. But at the end of the day, I mean, we all have to get along. We all have to live with those decisions that they're making, the consequences of those decisions. So it would make the most sense for these political parties, these political systems to work together to find that common ground. Otherwise, it just becomes this almost circus. It becomes a distraction to the real world, and that's pretty much what
Absolutely.
what politics has become over the last couple of
Mhm.
years.
Yeah, the classic divide and conquer narrative. You take down the other and you make them fight against each other and in internal strife. Going back to that athlete as well, if you create that internal strife, you're already breaking down. It's going to dissolve. It's not going to um, be all that you want it to be. You will not be all that you want to be. I will not be all that I want to be. And yes, that aspect of really working together, seeing the other as they may be other, but we have shared connection. We have shared consciousness. We have there is always something. There is mostly always something that we can connect with another human. We just have to ask questions, be curious, and find out. Lead with that curiosity. That's one of my affirmations every day. It's lead with a curiosity. I don't know everything about anybody's life. Let me ask questions.
And do you use that with your athletes as well? That's how you kind of make that connection with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's no way that I know everything about them. Yeah.
Now, from your perspective, what are some kind of ways for people to do this? It sounds like you're living this idea on a pretty regular basis. So what are some tips or tricks for people to um, kind of live through that curiosity, how to ask questions when you don't know the answers?
Mm. My tips and tricks are really to live by the four agreements within this scope. And those are to not take things personally. Again, we don't know how people frame things and how people share things is from their own projection, from their own projector, and from what they have experienced within their own lives. How I then interpret that may be completely different. My how it is personally for me may not be how they're intending. And then again, that opens the door to asking questions. Could you clarify that a little bit further? What exactly did you mean by this word choice? And then taking it a step and not being impeccable with your words, just being selective and of how you communicate with someone, remaining calm, um, talking to them with respect and dignity as a human. Again, going back to that humanity. And then um, we don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions that we know everything about them. and do our best. That's all we're doing is doing our best. We make mistakes, we own our mistakes, and we learn from them. It doesn't define us. That is part of the human experience, is making those mistakes.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love the Four Agreements. I love that book, Don Miguel Ruiz, and if you haven't read it, it's a very
Mm,
short,
very
easy
short.
easy to get through, almost a pocket book, of
Mhm.
very, very dense, wise wisdom from I believe he's from South America, a South American shaman.
Yeah, yeah.
And, yeah, I highly recommend that book. I read that, maybe 4 years ago, and it kinda changed how I interacted with other humans. Again, the whole idea that kind of we're at this party, and, the awakening process is kind of like being the sober person at a party, you know? You
Mhm.
start to look around and see all these people acting not in their own self-interest and not in the best way that they can for themselves. They're only operating in a way that yeah, makes them look good for other people.
Mhm.
And
Completely externally driven, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Instead of just being their authentic self and allowing the cards to fall and allowing, yeah, when you become your authentic self, you're going to polarize people. You're going to
Mhm.
A, draw those people in that are truly meant to be in your life. And then B, you're going to push people away that don't belong in your life, that aren't helping you become the best version of yourself, or at least operate from a better perspective than you did the day before. And that's something for a lot of us that it's kind of difficult. It's like, well, I like all these people. I love being friends with so many people. And it's like, well, you're doing that at the sacrifice of who you truly could be, of
Mhm.
the sacrifice of yourself. And that's something that in modern days, we were taught as kids that you should be friends with everybody. There's no reason nobody doesn't like you. And it's like, no, that's
Right.
actually not the case. The more you become your most authentic self, the more you're going to drive wedges between people that don't resonate with you. And again, it's all based on frequency. The more you project out your frequency into the world, the more it's going to either resonate or be dissonant with other beings. And again, uh, when you're creating an orchestra of instruments, you don't want dissonance in that orchestra, right? So you've got to get rid of those instruments. You got to get rid of those notes that are being played out of tune and not in the right tone. And it's just how life works.
Yeah. What a great metaphor. Using those musical instruments that are working with you, and then some may just not be there for right now, and that's or ever, and that's okay. That's again one of my other daily affirmations is I'm not for everybody, and everybody's not for me. And
Mm.
I used to think I want to be friends with everybody. I can go into a room and have conversations with everybody, but I walk away now knowing that I align myself in value and my values when I have those conversations, whether it be in the political sphere or talking to high school athletes. I align myself with who I am, and that leads my conversations. It's okay if you don't like me. We can have conversations, be respectful with each other, but I'm not worried about that any longer. And that element of freedom is next level. That almost feels like a it is a breaking free of this shell that you've put yourself into. Um, and being able to remove yourself from it, um, transforms your life. It really does transform your life. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is a turning point, and was a turning point for me, and I think for a lot of people when they just kind of stop caring what other people think, and not in the sense that, oh, I'm just going to do whatever I want. It's like I'm going to
Exactly.
do what I am here to do, and if people align with it, they align with it, and if they don't, they don't, and that's okay. So,
Yeah.
do you teach that to your athletes? Is that something that kind of goes in? I mean, how much of these life lessons are you sharing with these athletes as you're bringing them up? And I'm a little bit curious about what your process is. Like, are you working with them on only their mindset, or are you also coaching them from a sports athlete perspective as
Yeah.
well?
So I'm a sports athlete coach. I coach volleyball and I work predominantly with high school girls volleyball players. especially in the Central Texas area. And we work on the skill. They already have a high level of skill. Now it's about taking it to the next level with the mindset and beyond. Uh, Being able to speak to them, I just get to know them. I let them share what they want to share with me, and then I continue to ask questions. Um, I don't want anyone to feel like they are um, being interviewed or questioned or that they're put on the spot. This is an exchange between the two of us, and as we start to practice as a team, they reveal themselves more, mannerisms of off-ball skills, how to communicate with their teammates, how to communicate with their coaches, their parents. And that is what leads me to how I then speak with them and how I integrate with them. Uh, because that way I can create a connection with them that is, yeah, that is with thought. Yeah.
Right. A genuine connection that leads to probably more genuine outcomes because that's
Mhm.
kind of how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is my process. I work with them on the skills level. And then within the training and within the game, we work on mindset. And it's sometimes, I remember last year where during a match, um, our team was just overplaying. They were trying to do too much. And so I called a timeout and said, "You are enough. You don't need to be anything more than you already have been and trained to be. Go out there, feel your flow, and play volleyball because you know what you're doing. Return to the court, bang, they finish the game." Sometimes they just need to be a reminder. Sometimes there needs to be a reminder to return to the self, return to the body, and to return to the breath. Return to the breath to calm the heart rate so that you can then be in control of yourself because that ultimately is the only thing that you can control on this earth is yourself.
I love that. That's one of my daily affirmations is that I
Yeah.
am enough. That I am
Yeah.
who I am and that is enough. And that's a powerful
Yeah.
one. I got that from a channel. His name's Bashar and essentially, it's one of the wisest pieces of advice that you can give. It's like, "Hey, you came to this third dimensional reality with the skills and the abilities that you needed to learn the lessons that you need to have.
Mm.
It's not that you came here to change everything about yourself. You came here with exactly what you needed to do what you needed to do, and that's to have that reminder is definitely very powerful. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I wish I had you back when I was in my high school days to change my set. My mindset was very one dimensional. It was, I'm here to look the best for who I am, and didn't really worry too much about the team or anybody else, and it frustrated the heck out of a lot of my coaches. There was only and this was on the high school teams. On my club teams when I was, a middle of the grade player, it was easy to kinda go along with the team because, you almost had to. You had players that were better than you that were
Yeah.
leading you, but in the high school situation, I was the best player on the team. I was the only one playing travel ball, and I really did it. It affected my high school career because I made the decision that it was all about me. It was all about Joe. How many goals can I score? And how can I look the best? And there was no building other players up, and I have
Mm.
friends years later that have mentioned that to me. It's like, "Hey, you were a tough one to play with on the soccer or lacrosse field because,
Mhm.
it was all about the skill and
The show.
how well you could play and that not about the team and how well we could all do."
Yeah. That resonates with me as well. I very much was I'm here to perform and to perform for me, not to help my team and to elevate my team so that we can all rise up together. And that I think limited my college career, college recruitment. Um, but that's why I do what I do now, to empower the next generation so that that doesn't happen to them. And there's a big dose of humility that happens with that. I remember after coming back from my freshman year, going back to high school during the Thanksgiving break and apologizing to my high school coach and having a bigger understanding of it's about, again, about the team, but also understanding that I'd made it about me, and it's not about me. It's about us. And that is where we go back to politics too. It's about us, especially in the United States. We the people, those are the first three lines of the Constitution. We as a people need to be one, and we can be one if we see each other's humanity, if we are willing to sit down and have conversations without not with judgment, but with genuine interest of getting to know the person that is willing to share their story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does seem that at least, I mean, again, it depends on where you get your news. I'm not sitting watching C-SPAN and actually seeing the decorum inside of the Senate and the House. But if you look at any news system, it does seem like those players, those people in that game are very single-minded. They want that win for themselves. They want that reelection. They want to have that little word, that little dig at whoever else, whoever the other side is, because that makes for good TV. It makes for good politics, and that unfortunately is kind of the downside. So um,
Where'd he go?
hopefully we kind of get that point. All right, sorry about that. We had a little break in the internet, but we are back. So, I just wanted to get your perspective, Barbara, on if you're a parent or if you are a high school athlete. But most likely you're a parent of a middle school or high school aged athlete. What advice do you have from the coaching perspective on how to help your kid's mindset, how to help them become the best athlete that they can be, and not everybody's goal is to make it to the pros or even to play in college, but just how to get the most out of your athletic career as an athlete.
Mm. Yeah. So oftentimes, high school athletes now and middle school athletes are fixating themselves into comparison and seeing what everyone else is doing. And I need to be doing this in order to be worthy enough to continue to do it. But I want to reframe and take the word competition that we oftentimes use to describe the other or to compare ourselves with, that they're our competition, and instead turn that and put it in front of a mirror towards ourselves. That competition is just us with ourselves getting better each and every day. If you can push yourself to be 1 degree better every day, and sometimes that doesn't happen every day, we are in the context, we stay present, we are in fluid motion. We can't always be growing. But if we can strive to be 1 degree better every day, that's aligned with our values, that is aligned with their values, they can be unstoppable. They will become unflinching in the face of social media, of comments on social media when they go to college and they are in situations where they have to make decisions, and hard decisions, especially when there are peers around them. See the competition as yourself. I want to be the best version of myself today and every day. And so that's the one big piece of advice that I can give to parents.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think that's very important in today's world, especially as the consciousness shifts, as we shift away from again this separation consciousness. This is the whole idea behind the podcast, that we're moving from separation consciousness, where it's us versus them, it's you versus me, it's me versus everyone else. However, you're framing this into this more cooperative society, into a more harmonious existence, where we all start to see, okay, yes, you from the human perspective are separate from me, because inside of my mind it is telling me that you are something different than myself. But from a quantum mechanics, from a spiritual perspective, from every perspective that seems to be coming out, both scientific and spiritual, we are the same energy experiencing itself. We are exactly the same between you and me, and it's just our human lens that puts this kind of wedge, or this idea that we are separate from each other. And that's important. And I think that's a shift that's coming in sports as well, to view sports as, it's not this competition between other people. It's this a way for me to be the best version of myself, to show up and be the best person that I can be. And I think that's going to be really cool to see as we transition through this kind of weird period in humanity.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
So if anybody's interested in working with you, I mean, you're obviously based in Central Texas. I've been in Austin for the last 6 months. That's kind of how we met. I didn't really tell anybody how we met, but I was driving for Uber during Austin city limits, and I
Yeah,
dropped you off on your way to go have a good time at one of the better music festivals in the Central Texas area. So,
yeah,
obviously, you're based in Central Texas. If anybody here is listening, they want to work with you, or just want to get to know a little bit more about Barbara, how can they find that information?
yeah. Please shoot me an email. I am ready and willing to have conversations and engage in conversations. And also check out my website, cynisca.pro, cynisca.pro. It's all about rising up together. And I want to work with athletes that want to rise other people up with them.
Mm.
Uh, so I am, yeah, I am aligned with my passion and aligned with my purpose. I am present with purpose, and my action has intention, and I thoroughly enjoy what I do. I went through the whole thread of where am I, who am I, and sports was a constant. And now I want to pass that on to the next generation, because now they have the opportunity like no other to create something for themselves, to create a brand, to be an entrepreneur at 17, 18 years old. And that's powerful.
Beautiful. And I love having conversations with people that have found their purpose, that are aligned with their purpose, and that know with every single decision why they are doing that. And it's beautiful to talk to them and to kind of share perspectives on that. So I really appreciate you coming on, being open to having a conversation with your random Uber driver. And it's been a wonderful chat today.
Yeah, likewise. I wouldn't even say random. I would say aligned. It was supposed to happen. And I'm thankful that we had that conversation, and now we're having this conversation, and I hope to continue to have conversations with you.
Absolutely. I would love to have you back on. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it, Barbara, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you again for listening to Changing the Channel with Joe Garner. If you enjoyed the show, please follow the podcast, hit the bell to know when a new show comes out, share with a friend, and rate us on whatever platform you're tuning in from. It helps get these messages out to more people to create the collective shift in reality we are here to experience. Make sure you interact with the Q&A and poll sections of the show so I can continue to provide content you enjoy. Finally, check out my website in the show notes to become a VIP of Changing the Channel and join the shift that is happening.